Ooh, what's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG WTF LOL FTWBRB. Welcome back to more Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWF in the year 2001. More importantly, we are booking the invasion angle, and tonight we are munning Runday Night Raw. That's what I was gonna say. We're running Monday Night Raw tonight, and it's a pretty big show. We're in week 3, so we're building up to our upcoming pay-per-view, which I'm pretty sure we all know which it is, even though I haven't had the official reveal. It's going to be Invasion. Either way, though, next week, I believe, is Invasion. Well, of course, it's next week. If it's not this week, it has to be next week. Either way, we had a couple locker room incidents. Steve Blackman, he entertained the locker room, so boosted their morale and all that, I guess, by organizing a poker tournament. So I'll reward Steve Blackman probably like on Sunday Night Heat or some way by giving him a match against some big profile star, or maybe even giving him a win. Who knows? And The Undertaker passing along tips on microphone work to his protege Mark Jindrak. So good on The Undertaker there. Either way, let's go ahead and run the show. We got a couple of pre-show matches tonight. I think a total of 3. Our first pre-show match is a 8-man tag match. Gets us a C+. In a decent pre-show match, Team WWF, Dean Malenko, Albert, and the Hardy Boys, the WCW Tag Team Champions, defeating the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, Rey Mysterio Jr., Chuck Palumbo, and Kanyon and Hugh Morris in 10 minutes and 7 seconds, when Albert defeated Hugh Morris with a flying leg drop. C+ isn't too bad. Trish doing some good work, so that's pretty good. And I think actually Stacy always accompanies Chuck Palumbo too, so she should be here too, I think. Trish isn't suited to her gimmick. Luckily we can change that. Above average, there we go. So we switch from a seductress to a blue chipper, which pretty much means that she's got like she's picked for the future or something. I don't know. Either way, doesn't say Stacy was out here, but I think it was Stacy and Sean O'Hare that didn't have good chemistry, so I assume Stacy's out here as well. Albert C+, Dean Malenko at a B-, Matt Hardy at a B-, Jeff Hardy at a B-, Chuck Palumbo at a C+, and Rey Mysterio at a B-. Good on ya. Hugh Morris at a C, and Kanyon at B-. So a lot of people at the B- range. So all in all, everyone's pretty much on even grounds. Excuse me. Grunting in your guys' ears like I'm a caveman. Sorry about that. It's around that season, you know what I mean? Although I'm not sick or anything, I don't want to get you guys worried. I also got a plug in my laptop. This is what you get on my channel, Nerds and Geeks. This is what you get. Professionalism. Grade A commentary. Going to our worker improvements, we have Albert improving in performance, Jeff Hardy improving in performance, and Matt Hardy improving in technical. Moving on to our next pre-show match, we have a WWF Hardcore Championship title match. Got a C+ here. Decent pre-show match. Ron Simmons defeating Rikishi with the Dominator. I debated putting Steve Blackman here, but I already had Rikishi there, so I was like, why the hell not? I haven't used Rikishi in a while anyway. Although I did use him on Sunday Night Heat, but whatever. Ron Simmons making his first defense of the Hardcore Championship since winning it back in that fun hardcore gibberish I ran on SmackDown. Ron Simmons had a C+, Rikishi had a C, so Simmons was better. No worker improvements, and then we go to our pre-show main event. Got a solid B. Can't complain about that. And a pre-show bout that had good wrestling and decent reaction from the crowd. The Rock and the Brothers of Destruction, Team WWF, defeating Team WCW's Diamond Dallas Page, Mark Jindrak, and Sean Stasiak when The Rock defeated Sean Stasiak with the People's Elbow. Regal did some good work ringside. Lawler and, that fun stuff. Kane had an A. Undertaker and Rock had an A star. Stasiak had a D+. Mark Jindrak had a C-, not a C+. I almost messed up there. C-, that's improvement. And Diamond Dallas Page had a B+. Good showing, guys. Mark Jindrak improving in performance. Also got some in-ring work with his mentor. Let me take a drink before we start the show. That's what happens when you take a couple days off. Your commentary gets all gibbery. So we move on to the start of the show. I guess I messed up because Sean Stasiak should be here as well. Either way, we get a B plus. It's not like they were graded or anything. They were rated, not rated. So we start out with a B plus. Monday Night Raw opens up with the WCW SmackDown Commissioner Lord Steven Regal. He's making his way down to the ring alongside his bodyguards Mark Jindrak and Sean Stasiak, who are not rated, so it doesn't matter that Sean Stasiak's not on camera. Once in the ring, he takes the mic and he has a smug look on his face, and he's just laughing in the microphone. He's like, and he says, "To think soon enough, this entire company will be ours. You know, I had quite a lot of fun fooling you all. I was undercover for months, and I know. Excuse me, what am I trying to say here? And known for months, and none of you knew whatever." And it all paid off, whatever I was trying to say there, when I got to punch that egotistical bastard Vince McMahon right in the face and wired his mouth shut. That's when Mick Foley's music hits, and he makes his way down to the ring with a microphone in his hand, and he says, "Oh, you think that's funny, don't you, Mr. Regal? Punching a man that's in his 50s? I don't really know if Mr. McMahon's in his 50s at this time. I just kind of took a guess, so if he's not, don't bicker with me, please. Man that is in his 50s when he's... And don't tell me to look it up, because I didn't care enough. That's in his 50s when he's caught off guard. You know what's funny, Mr. Regal, is I bet that in a real fight, Mr. McMahon would embarrass you. You know, speaking of Mr. McMahon, I'm happy to announce that he'll be here later tonight on Monday Night Raw, right here in the California Staples Center." And then everyone gets a big pop, cheap pop, yep. And he says, and he's got some big news for the upcoming pay-per-view. But you know, speaking of the upcoming pay-per-view, we can go to our first promo here. Alright. Oh, too far. "Mr. McMahon told me to tell you something for the upcoming pay-per-view. You see, since you're such a fan of using brass knuckles, he told me to tell you that at this upcoming pay-per-view, you'll be in a hardcore match against me." And then he just says, "Have a nice day." And then his music hits, and Regal just kind of stands there looking horrified as we have an official match for Survivor Series. Or not a Survivor Series, what am I talking about? Invasion. Which, spoiler report, it's Invasion. We also have an official match between Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio. Official match. I don't like running hardcore matches because most people suck at hardcore matches. Aussie Rules fits the bill for a hardcore match pretty well. He says right here, you know, has to end in pinfall or submission, thus guarantee there'll be a decisive winner. So there's no DQ, no countouts. It's pretty much a hardcore match. So let's go ahead and run that. It'll be WWF's Raw Commissioner Mick Foley battling WCW's SmackDown Commissioner Lord Steven Regal. And Mick Foley making a return to the ring in how many years? Who knows? Either way, there we go. No worker improvements. Got the crowd started off to a strong start. Crowd got hotter, and Regal and Foley got some heat to their storyline. Moving on to the next segment, we just have Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler before the commercial break, you know, saying, well, I'll be damned, we're going to see Mick Foley return to action, yada, yada, yada. And then they go on to, you know, pretty much hype up that, well, coming up next from the commercial break, we'll find out who will challenge Lance Storm for the WCW Canadian Championship at this upcoming pay-per-view, as it'll be brother versus brother. Former WWF Tag Team Champions Edge and Christian battle each other one-on-one to decide who will face Lance Storm at the pay-per-view. Apparently this angle got the crowd hotter. That's impressive. And yeah, got a B-. Moving on back from commercial break. Wow, these guys did pretty well. Back from commercial break, we got a B rating here in a decent match. Edge and Christian drawing after 12 minutes and 43 seconds after a double countout. So I'd imagine they're out in the ring somewhere. Edge hits the spear, and they both kind of go into the steel steps because they didn't realize how close they were. So Christian hits it like back first. Edge hits its face first, and they both can't make it back in the ring in time, leading to a double countout, and thus no one know who who's going to be the one to face Lance Storm at the pay-per-view. They got a B though. That's really good. Good on you. I'm gonna go ahead and risk this, nerds and geeks. Um, so we always get the Christian's not suited to his gimmick thing. So I'm gonna and I've wanted to switch Christian's gimmick for a while, and it's just taken a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch it and hope it goes well. If not, I'll just give him a bonus. Either way, he's rated at a goth right now. It's got an above average, so it's not a bad gimmick. He's just not suited to it. We're gonna go ahead and switch him to a scoundrel and hope this works. Apparently, it was too soon after the last one, so it's gotten an awful rating. Lovely. Lovely. That's what I wanted to see. Well, there's your lesson of the day, nerds and geeks. When the game warns you, telling you, it's a little too soon after the last one, you believe them. Because now we kind of just fucked Christian up. Either way, Lance Storm was on commentary for this match. He was pretty weak, but that's to be expected. And Christian and Edge both had an in-ring performance of a B-. Christian's going to be pissed, so we're definitely going to have to give him a rate. Oh, what's this? Christian debuted a new spot that showcased his athletic ability. His psychology will be helped by being able to go use it as a go-to spot in the future. Good on you, Christian. We then go to a C rating. Pretty average, but Lance Storm's on the mic here. So we go to a C rating. Edge and Christian, they just found out that they drew. They're angry over the result. They start bickering, pushing each other, back and forth, arguing with each other. That's when Lance Storm picks up the microphone and he says, "Hey, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, if you two can stop being idiots for just a few minutes and listen. Look, I don't care about the results. I've beaten you both in one-on-one action, and I sure as hell can beat you both in a triple threat match. So since you both are fellow Canadians, and since a title growing in prestige, such as the Canadian title, needs to be defended against top talents to earn that prestige, I'll face you both at Invasion." And he just throws the microphone down and leaves, thus revealing at Invasion, which Lance Storm kind of revealed right there. But either way, at Invasion, we will see Lance Storm defend his not Eddie Guerrero, his WCW Canadian Championship against Edge and Christian. WCW Canadian Championship. Hopefully I can fit all this. If not, I'm just going to make it say. Oops. Fucked it up. Yeah, there we go. Gotta look at all specific. Did lose them some heat, but that's okay, I guess. Hey, at least it doesn't say Christian's gimmick sucks. We then go on to another Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler segment where they're just sitting there and they talk about how wow, that's a big bombshell by Lance Storm there, JR. And then JR will be like, yeah, well, indeed, King. Well, coming up after the commercial break, Chris Jericho debuting a new idea. He calls it the highlight reel. I have no idea what this is, but we'll see what it is next. And he talks about how Shane McMahon will be the first guest of the highlight reel. So this was my buddy Chris's idea, the highlight reel. He came up with it, and I was like, that's brilliant. Let's do that, because I mentioned I needed to do something with Booker T and Chris Jericho because I've been neglecting their feud. And this is actually would be the first official highlight reel right here, because the highlight reel didn't debut until around when Goldberg debuted, because I believe he was the first guest, which my buddy Chris, I believe, also pointed out. And yeah, so this is the first official highlight reel coming up. Look at that, history in the making. We then, before we go to a commercial break, we have a B rating. We see Shane O'Mac, and he's backstage with Booker T in the WCW locker room. And Book's all like, "You sure about this, Shane? I mean, it's Chris Jericho, and he's the weasel. How you know this isn't a setup?" And Shane says, "Book, come on, it's Jericho. He may be a weasel, but he's also egotistical. And this highlight reel, it just fits him just like that. Besides, I've seen him freaking out backstage all day over the equipment. A guy who's spending that much worrying and that much spending on that much equipment, isn't setting up anyone. But if you're so worried about me, then why don't you join me tonight? You can be my plus one. And the book just says, you damn right, now let's go. And they start walking towards the ring as the highlight reel is next. So they advance the invasion storyline, and Jericho and Booker gained heat. Holy hell. Hell yes. Highlight reel got an A. That's pretty good, eh? Got an A rating for the highlight reel. We're back from our commercial break. The ring gets set up with, that funky looking arcade mat, whatever Chris Jericho had back in the day. It's got some hanging sides, suspended TV, the Geraton 1500 or whatever. You see these light, really comfy chairs. Jericho's music hits. He makes his way down to the ring. The announcers are trying to figure out what's happening. What the hell are we seeing here? While Jericho's in the ring, and then Jericho takes the mic once he gets in the ring and he says, "Welcome everyone to Raw is Jericho!" But more importantly, welcome everybody to the first ever of the highlight reel with Chris Jericho, baby! Now I'm excited for this, and I've been excited for it for quite a while. You all know me to be quite the nostalgic man. And I remember back in the day, Roddy Piper, having his own show called The Piper's Pit. And I figured that this current era needed its own version of Piper's Pit. So everyone, once again, welcome to the highlight reel. And what a way to start off the show with our first official guest. He's the bastard child of Vince McMahon. He's got the tiniest grapefruits in the world from what I hear. He's got a crush on his own sister. And he just so happens to be the owner of the world's crappiest wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen. And then we just got to erase all this jazz. Let's get rid of all the locker room stuff too. You know what? Just get rid of all this. Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane McMahon. That's when Shane McMahon's music hit. Here comes the money. And he comes out with Booker T. They get in the ring and Shane sits down in the chair. And then Jericho, looks up kind of at Booker and he kind of says to Shane, he doesn't kind of say to Shane. He says to Shane, "Thanks for coming, Shane. If I had known that you were bringing Whoopi T with you, I would have brought another chair, but that's okay. He can stand, right? Anyway, like I said, I'm glad you're here. Now, you seem real confident, Shane." And Jericho then Shane then interrupts Jericho, and he says, "That's Mr. McMahon to you, Jericho." Jericho just kind of looks a little stunned, and he says, "Well, okay, Mr. Shane O'Mac, have it your way. Well, like I said, you seem real confident, like WCW's already won this war." And then Shane replies, "Who says we haven't? Think about it, Chris. We're on your turf. We've taken some of your soldiers, hurt your army, and we've taken one of your bases. It's just a matter of time until the WWF is WCW." Yeah, that's nice and all, but what happens when you lose? Shane then laughs, and he says, "Jericho, I heard you were a funny guy, but that's the funniest thing I've heard you ever said, because there is no losing to WCW in this war. Chris, you are a former WCW star, and even though you jumped ship over to the WWF in the past, we're very forgiving. I understand things back then weren't so good with Eric Bischoff and the NWO and all the money, but this is a new beginning. Just look at all the success we've already had with both Lord Steven Regal and Chris Benoit." And then Jericho really stands up in his chair and he says, "You got to be kidding me right now. You come on to my show and try to lure me over to that dungeon? No, Shayna, you see, you may say it's a new beginning, but WCW's cursed. That place is doomed to be hell forever. Never once has it not had any problems, and just because a McMahon is the head isn't going to fix anything. And you're going to lose, Shane." That's what I meant to say. I forgot to type in lose. "And you are going to lose, Shane. Do you want to know why, huh? Do you? It's because you're going up against Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And that man never loses." And then Booker T, tired of hearing Jericho run his mouth, surprise attacks, clocks Jericho with the WCW World Championship, and then just begins to beat Jericho down, whipping him with the World Championship like a belt, hitting him over and over again with it until Shane tells him it's enough. Shane then, kneels down with the mic in hand. He says, "Oh, we'll win, Jericho. We're going to burn this place to the ground, and everyone that's in it. My offer still stands, Chris. get out while you can. And that ends the first edition of the highlight reel. Things didn't quite go the way Chris Jericho wanted them to, but nonetheless, Shane McMahon and Booker T kind of sending a message to the WWF and giving a little bit of an offer to Chris Jericho. We've seen a little bit of a recurring theme here now with Benoit, Ron Simmons, I already said Chris Benoit, Lord Regal. We've seen a recurring theme here with guys jumping ship to WWF who used to be WCW guys and having a successful run so far. I mean, we've seen Benoit now be the Intercontinental and United States champion, protege to Ric Flair. We've seen Regal become a commissioner of SmackDown. Ron Simmons is now the WWF Hardcore Champion. They've had some success, so Shane giving a little bit of a olive branch to Chris Jericho, and Jericho denied it, so Booker T made him pay for it. Either way, performance of Chris Jericho was good. Invasion advances, and Booker T and Jericho gaining the heat they needed. No worker improvements, though. We then move on to our next segment, I'd imagine being back from commercial break. Last week we saw Albert take on Chuck Palumbo, well, despite losing, I believe. So this week we see a little bit of a repeat, this time with Test taking on Sean O'Haire. We get a solid B rating in a decent match, Test defeating Sean O'Haire in 7 minutes and 34 seconds when Sean O'Haire was disqualified after Chuck Palumbo got involved and attacked Test. The way to imagine it happening here is Test possibly getting ready for the big boot. Chuck Palumbo slides in and jumps Test, I should say, not necessarily jumps on him. And then we go on to have a disqualification. Either way, Test had an in-ring performance of a B. Sean O'Haire at a C. Gained some heat to the Thrillers and TNA feud. We then move on to a post-match brawl, B-, TNA. Albert comes out, and we have Test and Albert brawling with the Natural Born Thrillers. And they're just brawling all around ringside, sending each other into the barricade, sending each other into the steel steps. And we have a bunch of referees, road agents, security. They all come out and break it up, separating the two as things are getting a little heated between these two. Just advancing the storyline here, nothing too special. Oh boy. We then go to an A-Star segment. Austin and Triple H, notorious for getting those, but whatever. We're back from our commercial break, and Triple H's music hits. He makes his way towards the ring, and he has a sledgehammer in his hand. The announcers recap what happened last week on Monday Night Raw between Triple H and Rhino. Once in the ring, he takes the mic, and he says, "Austin, I'm getting sick and tired of these games. When we were partners, you held me back, and now that I'm free, you keep screwing me of what should be mine, that WWF Championship. If you're not relying on your wife, it's your so-called protege, and I'm sick of it. Last week I told your protege that I was going to end him, and I would have if it wasn't for you getting involved. And now I'm pissed. So get your asses out here and let's finish what we started last week." And then Triple H, he gets in a fighting stance, starts holding up the sledgehammer and stuff. So when Stone Cold Steve Austin's music hits, and he and Rhino make their way out to the entryway and stand there, and Austin says, Now, don't get excited, Triple H. You can put down the damn sledgehammer, because we ain't going down there. Now, if you want another ass whooping, like the one my protege and I gave you last week, then we'd be happy to." Gotta pull up our, oh boy. Hold on. Gotta get rid of all this. Either way, get rid of all that. Get rid of that. Move up. Either way, Austin says, "But we like to keep things fair around here, Triple H, so how about instead of just beating you down like we did last week, and how about instead of you hurting yourself by swinging that damn hammer around like you're Thor or something, we do things the old-fashioned way. How about you go find yourself a tag team partner, if you can, and you can face me and my protege tonight." And then Triple H just responds, "You're on," and we have our main event of the night, which will see Triple H and a mystery partner, if he can find one, take on Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rhino. Triple H looked good. Stone Cold was the real star. Rhino looked lost, but that's okay. Gained heat to the Austin Stone Cold storyline, and Triple H is learning to show more charisma. We then move on to the next segment. We just gets a B, not a B star. What the hell's a B star? Just gets a B here, solid B. Limo pulls up, shows someone step out of it. We just see his like shoe, and the camera goes to commercial before we see who it is. It's just presumed to be Mr. McMahon, as Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross are probably talking about like Mr. McMahon's here. We come back from our commercial break and we go to an A star segment. Another A star, Triple H. You're looking good tonight. A star, and we see Triple H. He's backstage. He's pacing back and forth, waiting for his wife to show up to hopefully with a partner she found for him. She suddenly walks in the room, and Triple H says, "Steph, please tell me you found someone." And Steph says, "I did." And Triple H says, "That's great. Who is it?" And then Steph opens up the door, and in walks Kurt Angle. And Triple H says, "No, no, there is no way in hell I'm teaming with Kurt Angle." And Steph says, "Hunter, please just listen to me and let me explain why Kurt is the perfect choice tonight." And Kurt says, "Don't bother, Steph. Allow me. Triple H, tonight you need a tag team partner. But not only do you need a tag team partner, you need a tag team partner who knows his opponents well. Now, while you may know Stone Cold Steve Austin from the time you two teamed, but Rhino and I were close friends at one point. And if anyone knows Rhino, it's me. Plus, not to mention, it makes sense for us to team. We don't represent any company. You don't represent the WWF or WCW. I don't represent WWF or WCW. It just works." And Steph says, "Don't you see, Hunter? Kurt's the guy." Triple H just sits there angry for a couple of seconds and says, "You're lucky I need a damn partner." And he just kind of walks off while Kurt Angle sits there smiling. And we have a match. Triple H and Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rhino. So Triple H was superb without a script. Had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. Interesting enough here, Stephanie McMahon did a masterful job improvising interactions with the crowd. Good on her. And Kurt Angle improvised well throughout the segment. Triple H was a real star. Stephanie McMahon underperformed, but she did a masterful job either way. A star. Good on you guys. Oh, never mind. I was wondering what the hell this was for a second. We go to a B- back from our commercial break. And Triple H, he's making his way out to the ring. He stands at the entryway, and Austin just sits there with the mic, and he says, "Was you find someone? Or are you all alone with no friends?" That's when Kurt Angle's music hits, and we have ourselves a match. So nothing really special here. In fact, there's probably a little bit more here with Austin kind of mocking Triple H. And either way, it's pretty much just a reveal segment, because I don't imagine Triple H saying, "Here's my partner." Lost some heat, but I'd imagine that going up anytime soon. We then go to a solid B, our main event of the night, and a superb match. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rhino defeating Triple H and Kurt Angle, when Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Kurt Angle by pinfall with the Stone Cold Stunner after a distraction from Chris Benoit. So the way I'd imagine this going down is halfway throughout the match, like Benoit and Flair kind of come down, and Angle's kind of distracted, and Benoit kind of gets up on the apron while Kurt Angle has the angle lock locked in. So Kurt like lets go and goes after Benoit, and Benoit jumps down, is like, "Okay, whatever," like leaving, and turns around, gets the stunner, and as he's going for the pin, in comes Triple H to, make the save. Rhino hits him with the gore. And we get the 1, 2, 3 with Rhino and Stone Cold, the mentor protege team, going over. Triple H and Stephanie, of course, have great chemistry. Ross and Lawler work extremely well. Austin stood out as being good. Unfortunately, it says right here, Rhino was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else, but considering who he was struggling to keep up with, it makes sense. He wasn't that far behind off Kurt Angle. Rhino had a B-, Austin had an A-, or excuse me, A star, not A-. Kurt Angle had a B+, so they weren't too far off. And Triple H had an A, and everything else pretty good. Move on to our next... What? Okay. Interesting. I don't know how I skipped over that quick, but as we can see here, our final segment of the night, I did mean to put in a segment in between these, but I forgot. Just pretty much Triple H pedigreeing Kurt Angle because he's pissed. And then we had Mr. McMahon, returning like I had him doing, and that got an A star to end off our show. And that's pretty much just him coming out and telling Shane that the upcoming pay-per-view I've titled Invasion, and it's fitting. See if you want if you want SmackDown so bad, when we'll fight over it or something, and we'll have a 5-on-5 match. I'll pick 5 people from WWF, you pick 5 from WCW, and if I win, Regal's WCW SmackDown commissioner, or excuse me, basically Regal's commissioner contract with SmackDown is exterminated. And if you win, I hand over the name or the SmackDown to you, pretty much. So either way, that was the ending segment, despite it for some freaking reason skipping over it. I don't know why I did that. We got an A rating, so that's awesome, and it increased our popularity in 18 regions. Can't complain. Let's see what we got after this. Ooh, some decisions. Did I extend the contract to anybody? We'll have to see. I don't think I did. If not, you guys are going to get a spoiler. I got fantastic reviews. That's awesome. Nothing else special there. What do we got in our emails? Aw, no opinions. I was hoping we would have some. Probably would just be telling me Sean O'Hare's garbage. Ooh, it is an incident. Booker T. Steroids. Oh, I almost fired him. Fine. Whatever. Sucks for you, Booker. So, Booker T's mad because we fined him. That's whatever. Christian's going to be mad because his poor gimmick. What? He thinks he should be with the world title? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, I don't want to give a bonus to everybody. I just want to give a bonus to Christian. Thinking a nice $10,000 bonus will cheer him up for giving a shitty gimmick. Seriously. No. 10,000 even. Fuck me. There we go. There we go. See, now he's like, alright, I'll deal with this shitty gimmick for now, because it'll boost me. But that does suck. Look at that. Rated awful. Even though he's rated excellent in it. Either way, Nerds and Geeks, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor. Leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, my name has been OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB. And I will see you guys for SmackDown. So until then, have a wonderful day.